So on the journey through the different Ahrefs reports that we use as an agency daily, the next up, as we go from macro data down to micro data, we're basically looking at macro being the whole overview, looking at different pages, down to micro being the exact URLs, and then looking ultimately at the keywords and where those pages are, or what pages those are ranking on. So before we get there, the next stop in our plan here is on top pages. So let's take a look at top pages, and I'm going to walk you through this. Again, using Organic Muscle as the example, and then we'll also look at bodybuilding.com as kind of the next competitor. So you go to this report, there's a couple things that we're going to see immediately. I want to be clear here. I like to make this simple. Let's keep it simple, stupid, myself being stupid, just to make this really easy. So I'm gonna remove organic pages. I only want to look at organic traffic and organic keywords. Let's actually remove traffic too. Let's only look at keywords because keywords precede traffic. Traffic is also an estimate on Ahrefs, so it's kind of misleading. Whereas keywords, not an estimate, that's the real deal. If the keyword's on the page, that's on that page. You're ranking for that because Ahrefs and Google are crawling these pages all the time and then ranking it. So that's why I love looking at organic keywords on Ahrefs because it's actually accurate. Also, I don't care, like this is beautiful, but I don't care that it's all in one. That's too macro for me. I want to get a little bit more in the details. I want to look at compare pages, and I want to, again, compare the organic keywords, not the traffic. Awesome. So now we're starting to see, okay, which pages are the most valuable here? And obviously this Shilajit versus Tonkat Ali blog continues to crush it for these major keywords that it's basically crushing it on. You can even see the keywords by kind of dropping it down right here. And we can actually look at what those keywords are and what their position movements are. This page isn't necessarily too old, and so it's continuing to move up and higher because we wrote the content perfectly. I want to be clear here. We're not doing anything new to this content. We're doing it just like we talked about in all the earlier lessons. We're creating it, we're posting it, and we're letting it marinate. We're letting it sit like a fine wine that's deep in the cellar. I know I compared a lot of this to real estate as well, but I really like the wine equation for this because like a fine wine, you put it in the cellar. Well, you're assuming it's fine. You know, you're buying it for value. You're putting it in the cellar, and you're hoping that it's going to age and mature nicely and become something that is worth 10, 15 times its value, or just taste really well. Because at the end of the day, all wine tastes good. So basically what happens is once you take that wine out of the cellar, it's going to start producing money for you, or it's going to taste really good. But basically some wines are better than others. Some wines age better than others. And that is like these SEO pages. Some of these pages do better than others. They drive better traffic. They rank better. It could be 1,000 different ranking factors, but I know we talked about the core 5. That's almost like just to get the dart on the board. And then Google will kind of push it to where it needs to go. And we're going to look at those trends, see what those are, to understand we're moving the right direction. So we do that by looking at the top pages report, by understanding and making sure that all these pages are being indexed properly and ranking. Where we really use this for is for two things. One, in competitive analysis to see what pages are the most valuable, which you can also use the site structure report like we talked about, but you probably don't have access to that if you were on the light plan or the free plan. But you probably have access to it if you're on the advanced plan, which that's how you have site structure. But if not, you have access to top pages. You can see it here. So very similar to how, of course, the site structure was to be able to see how Google sees it. You can do the same thing here, just a little bit more detailed. But if you know the website or your website or the competitors are Shopify, then you know the page structure. You know that they use blogs, that they use collection pages, for example. So let's isolate only the collection pages. So we just are going to include URL contains collection and run it. And this is going to show us exactly which collections. We can also see the new collections that we just created and just posted and that they're indexing and ranking. We can even compare this to prior dates. So I'm going to compare this to the prior month because we're actively producing new collection pages for our client, Organic Muscle. And I'm going to also check new pages because I want to see new pages that got indexed in the past month. And of a lot of pages we created for them, 39 new pages are showing up. Let's zoom in a little bit. And now we can actually see which pages are doing better than others. And funny enough, the best natural pre-workout recipe collection page is doing very, very well. The keto all natural pre-workout, and then also the clean all natural pre-workout. So it's interesting to note that the pre-workout pages are actually achieving velocity much faster than the other pages are. Of course, these are all the new ones over the past month. Let's go over the past week. So even on the front end of this. So what are the ones that are doing the best? Okay, so now it's not necessarily the protein or the pre-workout. It's the other ones, like the super greens, the electrolyte powder, the protein powder. So it's important to note that if you look at all this like this, you can actually see which ones are more effective than others. But if I'm comparing month over month and looking in general at what's got the most potential, what's growing the most, let's look at previous 3 months. You can really see that natural pre-workout, that pre-workout in general is just crushing it. So guess what, guys? For the content plan, we're doing more and more pre-workout because we can see this in the pages itself and what's working. So we use top pages to identify if our progress is going properly, if the pages we're creating are being indexed, and if they're being picked up by Google and ranking like they should. This is super, super critical. Natural pre-workout is one of the big keywords that I know that our client wants to rank for, so that's why it's really important that we really nail this across the board. And just like that, we're on page 2. Like I talked about. So to get higher, we're going to have to keep creating more and more natural pre-workout pages. Not necessarily collections, but definitely blogs and definitely knowledge centers, maybe a couple collections just to see what happens. And that's really how we're going to keep pushing this higher and higher. It's not about continuing to optimize the same page. It's about really kind of building these content structures and evolving them. And that's what's going to get you to the next level. So really awesome here, but that's what we use this report for mostly, is for looking at change over time and really using the URL filter to isolate that and to look at this. We can even look at like pages that are improving the best, that have the most keyword improvement, the most traffic improvement, which again, keyword improvement would be number of keywords across the board, which could be from 0 to 100 of the ranking, which means that you're going to be like, you're looking at the whole funnel. So it's kind of not really as useful. But if I look at traffic, then I know that is top 1 through 3 keywords. So I look at the best ones that have improved and that are new. We can actually see that pre-workout is kind of across the board, the top 3, like no-brainers. And you can also look at traffic. But again, like we talked about, traffic is messy. It's not accurate. It's not real. But it also gives you a similar insight into that top 1 through 3 pages of the traffic that's improved. So let's take this really quick and let's look at for bodybuilding.com, for example. So again, we just basically went from the overview to top pages just like that. I'm going to go to compare pages, compare organic keywords, and we're going to look at this a little bit deeper. So because of the site structure report, we did see that a lot of their pages are based on this content area. So we're going to isolate that here in a second. If we can get this bad boy to load, we can actually go ahead and isolate it. So content, so I want to look at their pages that are ranking the best. And Google had a massive algorithm update recently, like back in August, so like just almost like right there. So like 30 days ago or so. So I can actually look at what pages have improved the most since August. So I want to see pages off the content since August where traffic has improved. So I'm going to look at that, and we can keep kind of like layering on these different filters to ultimately see what's working the best. And so from 4,000 pages, now we have 10% of that, we have 400 pages. Gives us a little bit of a better value here. Let's keep looking. So let's see what else can we do. Let's look at keywords that are improved as well too. So not only top of funnel in quantity, but also in quality of the traffic coming in is also strong too off this content section. And now we have just 200 pages. And this is going to be, again, this is going to be basically the best workouts, the 10 best workouts. Again, more workouts as well. And also like, looks like how Arnold built his shoulders and arms. So these are all different topics that we should be writing about. It's kind of a no-brainer. So this is how you can use this as well to ultimately analyze competition. And if you do this at scale, you do this for like 5 or 6 different brands, you see very clearly what is going to move the needle for you and how you can ultimately you can leverage your competitor's budget and not yours, because you know that they've been producing all this content, but maybe only 10% of it is giving them a lot of value. So we're going to take that 10% and we're going to respin it for ourselves. And that's the magic of the top pages report. But the real key feature here is using these filters. These filters will really dial in what you need to see, what you should be looking at, and help you really just hit the nail on the head. So cool. Next up, we're going to go into even more micro, look at the keywords themselves and how we look at that both on our own client sites, our own sites, and then also on our competitors for competitor research. See you there.